Portal to Ascension mission officially began in 2008. After 15 years of evolution and thousands of events, from live to online and back to live again, there was always an awareness that when we begin creating events internationally, the mission will shift into its next phase. That time is now. Portal to Ascension is traveling to Glastonbury in August 2023 to fulfill this mission. This gathering of incredible luminaries traveling from all over the world to join forces in Avalon is a sacred pilgrimage to these ancient lands, and we invite you to embark on this quest with us. The Portal to Ascension Glastonbury is not only a conference, it is a retreat, a tour, and grid work. Together we are connecting the powerful mysteries and the ley lines of the heart of Earth, activating and uniting together as one. This 3-day event will feature Laura Eisenhower, Anton Parks, Geraldine Orozco, Vivienne Chauvet, Sage Oneness, Lori Spagnan, and many more. Your MCs are Neil Gore, Alan Steinfeld, and Joan of Angels. As a collective, we are waking up from a deep slumber, aligning to our true potential. What will we create? What will we envision? What are the possibilities? Join us in this ancient land for a unique opportunity and a gathering that will activate, elevate, inspire, and uplevel all that attend. August 11th to 13th, 2023. Sign up now at ascensionglastonbury.com.
Well, I'm honored to bring forward this amazing soul who entered my life with a bang. And we are just, I just love her work. I love what she's been doing. She's also known as Ia, a gifted thought leader of many titles, from clairvoyant, truth seeker, intuitive psychic, paradigm shifter, to best-selling author. Ia is breaking the mold as she opens people's minds to a new way of thinking. Above all, her ongoing mission is to help humanity awaken by expanding their mind to the infinite possibilities the universe has to offer. She actively pursues this mission through private readings, ranging from celebrity clientele to those among her 300,000 plus online community. So I don't want to waste another minute. I want to bring Ia on. Elizabeth, are you there? Are you with us?
Hello.
Yay! It's so good to see your face again. We were texting with each other yesterday, and it had been a year since we had texted, I think. But
I know, yeah, I've been definitely missing you a lot, my cosmic soul sister. So it's nice to get reconnected.
I'm missing you too, and you're so radiant. Look at you shining and glowing.
Oh, thank you. Likewise. Yeah.
Thank you. It's the light. But what do you have for us? Are you going to share a presentation? Is that what you're doing? Are you going to channel? I don't even know what you planned on doing.
Yeah, I have, I really didn't know what I was going to say until about an hour ago, as per usual. And then I channeled, what this community in particular really needed to hear at this time. And I love it because when I channel information like this, especially when I have no expectations, it always blows my own mind. And it's going to be definitely some juicy information I'm about to share. So
Awesome. I can't wait to hear. I'm going to sit here and listen the whole time. I'm really excited. And why don't you take it away?
Thank you so much, Michelle.
You're welcome, love.
Ah, so beautiful. So yeah, I guess we can just kind of get right into it. First of all, I just want to do a huge shout out to Neil, obviously, for putting this all together, to Michelle for being here and holding space. And then I love how Tarek and Flo were right there before me. It totally threw me back to like Toronto times. So it's really nice to kind of have this whole community coming together in the right alignment. And of course, a huge thank you to everyone showing up and taking their time and energy on this beautiful weekend to spend, to share this space with us. So big thanks to everyone involved. It's beautiful. I've got this view in front of me of this almost full moon and these beautiful palm trees and the setting sun. So I feel really grateful in this present moment. And like I said, I didn't know what I was going to talk about today, but it came through and it came through quite clearly. And the description or title that came through was Making the Way to Sovereignty, Making the Way to Sovereignty. And like I said, it could have been anything. But today I really want to talk about sovereignty and freedom and how we can utilize the third dimension frequency and the fifth dimension frequency to navigate and move into this energy of sovereignty. Now, I think it was about 3 months ago, I was channeling the energy of 2023, right? What is the theme of this year that we're stepping into? And the one word that came through to me was this word, sovereignty. Now, up until about an hour ago, I really thought I knew what sovereignty meant. But when I actually Googled it, because I wanted the actual definition, it was so different than what I was expecting. Now, my definition of sovereignty would really just be freedom. I interchange the word sovereignty and freedom all the time. Now, the actual Google definition of sovereignty, which is kind of cool actually, is supreme power or authority. Supreme power or authority. And then another kind of definition of sovereignty is the authority of a state to govern itself. And of course, sovereignty is usually interlaced with like politics and that kind of stuff. But I love this description, the authority of a state to govern itself. So in this case, of course, we are the state. And the most important thing that I want to talk about today is how do we utilize the energy of the eclipse that's happening in 2 days? How do we utilize the energy of 11:11? How do we utilize the energy of 12:21? All of these really big activations and energy spikes coming up. How do we utilize that to anchor in this theme, this energy of sovereignty, so that moving into 2023, we are pure sovereign beings in full control and navigation of our own selves? That's what today is about. If you have a piece of paper and a pen, definitely get it out because there's going to be a lot of like homework, but definitely some suggestions from yours truly. I do want to just kind of start off by mentioning a couple of symptoms that you might be experiencing or feeling at this time. So one really big one is exhaustion. We do have the 11:11 activation coming up, and we also have this total lunar eclipse coming up as well. So things like exhaustion, headaches, body pains, really freaking vivid dreams, and even things like an increase in psychic attacks are all aspects of this energy. So just know that you're not dying, you're definitely not crazy, and you're definitely not alone when feeling the symptoms of this shifting energy. And I also want to mention that the energy of an eclipse is transformative. That's really what it's about. The energy of 11:11 is transformative. This is the perfect time to start thinking about what you want. And from all of my years of working with clients and helping others and doing my own kind of internal introspection, the number one thing that I think all starseeds need, want, but also deserve is freedom, is sovereignty. And if we can get into a place, both physically and vibrationally, where we are free, not that we just feel free, but we actually are free, then I believe that the world is, at our feet, right? Everything becomes limitless at that point in time. And that's when we can really shine in our own right and our own vibration. So that's basically what we're going to get into today. So yeah, let's start off with the 3D or physical aspect or version of sovereignty. Now I'm going to go 3D and then I'm going to hop over to 5D. Don't even worry about 4D. We're not going to get into kind of the agendas, conspiracies, all that stuff today. We're really just going to go extreme polarity, low vibration, high vibration, which actually leads me to another point. I've made this point before, but I want to make it again. The third dimension is not necessarily a low vibrational frequency. I know it's tough to think about it in that way. Like immediately when you think 3D, you think, oh, you're fear-based or you're in a negative place. But a different way to think about the third dimension is physical. It's dense, it's physical. Just because something is physical doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong or negative or bad. And when we take away the association or the morality of good versus bad, light versus dark, then all of a sudden we can accept everything in its own right objectively rather than judging it, right? The second that we put a right or wrong, good or bad, high or low onto it, we're judging it. And essentially then we judge ourselves and then we're fighting the state that we're in. I don't think we should be fighting the third dimension frequency at all. I don't think we should be fighting the physical reality at all. We need to work with it. And this is another big problem that I've had in my own life of how physical, how human should I be? How spiritual, how high vibrational should I be? And for me, it's always come down to bring harmony into both aspects. So I just wanted to kind of start off the third dimension by saying, try not to judge it, try not to look at it as a negative thing, just understand the third dimension as this physical reality. And it's not such a bad thing. You chose to be here, you chose this body, you chose this incarnation, and here we are. So how do we reach physical sovereignty? How do we reach sovereignty in this physical reality? I'm going to go through what I've got 4 different elements of physical sovereignty or physical freedom. That's really important. Another way to think about sovereignty is harmony. I love this concept of freedom or sovereignty. Harmony. When you're in a harmony with something, with anything, the physical or vibrational world, you are in freedom with that thing. There's no resistance, there's no judgment, there's no attachment, there's no expectation. Think about freedom as harmony, because a lot of the time when we ask ourselves, well, how do I become free? And it feels like a very overwhelming statement to step into. Don't worry about it. Ask yourself, how do I bring more harmony into my life around this aspect? And that's what we're going to do with the 3D reality. So the first thing I want to talk about with the 3D physical sovereignty is environment, your environmental freedom. I just don't think we think about this often enough. So what is your physical environment? Look around you. It's your home. It's where you're at. And your home, your space, the feng shui, the vibe, right? It's where you sleep, it's where you eat, it's where you commune, it's where you conversate, it's where you meditate, it's where you connect, it's where you disconnect. Your home and your physical environment is so key to your own sovereignty and freedom. If you go home every day, I don't know if you go off to work, you work from home or whatever, but if you wake up in your home and you're thinking, oh my God, I love my house so much. I love my apartment. I love my bedroom. I love my comforter and my sheets, and I love my blinds, and I love my bathrobe or whatever. And it's not about the physical reality. It's about the vibration of how that environment makes you feel. If you're in harmony with your environment, then your environment is facilitating sovereignty and freedom and empowerment for you. If you are in harmony with your environment, then all you will think about when you think about your home and your environment is appreciation, love, respect, connection, all of that great stuff, gratitude for your environment. If you are out of harmony with your environment, then all you're going to think about is, oh my God, I can't breathe in this space. It's not big enough. It's not facilitating my growth. It's not in the right neighborhood. I feel fearful, I feel unsafe, I feel claustrophobic, I feel negative in this environment. So it's important for you to ask yourself, is your environment conducive to your freedom? Is your environment adding value to your life? Is it adding to your harmony? Or is it disharmonic? All right. So I don't want to say you can give yourself a score, but I want you to write down in your notebooks, does your environment give you a sense of peace and harmony, or a sense of unease and disharmony? Where are you at with that? And maybe you can write in the chat as well where you're at with your environment. Here's what I recommend. If your environment, if your home is disharmonious, if it's not facilitating sovereignty, what I recommend is do a little bit of spring cleaning. Yeah, I know we're getting into winter, but look around you and see what you can get rid of. Most of the time, our environment is not really allowing us space to grow. And a lot of the time it's because we have stuff in our life, in our environment, in our home that's bringing us down. That's old energy. So it's really important that we get rid of that old stuff. And you don't have to feel overwhelmed. You don't have to feel like you have to do everything at once. Do one small task every week to create a healthier environment for yourself. What do you value? What aligns to you? Okay. So yeah. So work on realigning your physical state to be more harmonious. And that's going to be really conducive to freedom and sovereignty. As spiritualists, as teachers, as starseeds, as way showers and leaders, we just don't think about the physical reality enough and how it actually affects us. Okay, good. Let's talk about career and money. I'm going to link both career and money together for this example. And once again, we're talking about the third dimension. We're talking about your physical state and how this is going to help you step into sovereignty and freedom. I just wanted to make a mention, yes. So this is really, really important because I see a lot of starseeds getting stuck on this fact. And a lot of starseeds get stuck on the fact that they believe their spiritual, vibrational mission is meant to equal fulfillment, happiness, freedom, career, or money. And you don't always have to link them. So here's a good example of this. You could be an accountant and you could say to yourself, I'm a really good accountant. I love what I do. It's a boring job, but I'm good with numbers. I enjoy what I do. But I also feel like I'm here on the planet for a spiritual mission. So most of the time we think we got to get rid of our accounting job, our 9-to-5, our, whatever it's called, our corporate job. In order to just completely be a spiritual leader or teacher or entrepreneur. And for a lot of us, that's the case of just fully stepping into that mission. But I want to give full permission to those of you who feel guilty for enjoying your 9-to-5 job and creating financial freedom around your 9-to-5 job, but still feeling pulled to give back in a spiritual way. You can have both. Like, for example, what if you were like a fitness freak and you're like, I love fitness so much, and instead of going to the gym and paying for the gym, I'm just going to become a trainer. And then it turns out you now hate fitness because you have to do it for a living, right? Just because you feel a mission to do something and you're drawn to give back to the planet doesn't necessarily mean you have to create a career around it. We need to separate financial abundance and freedom and spiritual mission and fulfillment. You can go travel the world and do a bunch of grid work and join a bunch of communities and feel really freaking fulfilled while you have just a whatever job that fulfills your bank account. It's totally okay to have both. The biggest question when it comes down to freedom and career and finances is, do you feel harmonious? You have to go to your 9-to-5 job and actually enjoy what you're doing in order to feel harmony there. Once again, your job, your financial freedom does not necessarily have to be spiritual, and sometimes it is. Sometimes it's both, and that's great, and that's easy. So ask yourself, do you feel fulfilled in your work? in your job, in your career? And do you also feel like you are receiving the financial compensation that you feel you deserve in your job, in your work, in your career? And if not, if you don't feel freedom in your career, then that's okay. Here's what I recommend. A big problem with making a huge career change is a lot of us just don't know what that next step is. Once again, that's totally okay not to know. But it doesn't mean that you don't have to manifest just because you don't know. The best thing about manifestation is you can set a general intention without actually knowing what that timeline looks like. So what I suggest for you is to set an intention of, I am ready to step into a career or a job or a position that benefits me, and whatever your intentions are, benefits humanity, benefits me financially, is secure for the highest good of all involved. It could be anything. It could be being a Reiki instructor, or being a bus driver, or being an accountant, right? So just know that when we ask for something in the highest vibration, the universe is going to give us options, but we have to be listening to what those options are that come through. And I know that someone mentioned in the chat, money is just a figment of the imagination. It's all just an illusion. I get it. Cool. So how are you paying your bills? I'm telling you right now that if you're at home or on the streets living in a box and you are wishing the best for humanity and you want to help and you want to unify and you want to give back, that's great. But if you can't pay your bills and you can't feed yourself, there is no possible way you're going to be able to give back, right? So for me, as maybe a grounded spiritualist, it's really important that we are taking care of our physical needs just as much as we are taking care of our vibrational. Remember, we're talking about the 3D. We're talking about the importance of sovereignty within the 3D. You don't want to have to go every single month and say, well, I can't afford that, because that puts you into survival mindset. We need to be taking actionable steps to financial freedom, to career freedom, and understand that it doesn't always have to be linked with spirituality. You can have both. You can have both. You don't have to choose one, and it doesn't have to be all in one all the time. All right. Okay. So hopefully that helps. And then let's go to relationships. Super, super important. So think about your relationships in your life. Think about your neighbors. Think about your family members. Think about your friendships. Think about your coworkers. Are your relationships providing you a safe space of sovereignty and freedom? In other words, do you feel empowered within those relationships? Or do you feel disempowered? So a really good example is, if you were to call up every single person you have a current relationship with, whether it be platonic or romantic or familial or what have you, you were to call them all up, do you feel energized? Do you feel liberated? Do you feel empowered? Do you feel comfortable? Do you feel confident in that conversation? Or do you feel anxious? Do you feel fearful? Do you feel resentment? Do you feel attachment? Do you feel like you don't know what to say? Do you feel drained after talking or engaging with that person? Those dynamics, those relationships are not serving your best and highest interest, and they're not allowing you to step into that sovereignty or freedom. That's okay. There are two things that I would recommend with sovereignty and relationships. One is, of course, ask yourself, question every relationship in your life. Is this serving me? Is this providing me freedom and sovereignty? Yes or no? And if yes, awesome, great, nothing more that you need to do. If no, there's two options that I've worked with personally and I've had clients work with as well. One is create space. Sometimes you don't know if you need to indefinitely let them go, or you just need a bit of a break in order to recalibrate the energies between the two of you. But creating space is one of the best things we can do to really figure out where that relationship is at and if it's actually providing you just as much as you're providing them. So space. And then with space comes boundaries as well, is the healthy boundaries. I feel like that might have been my second point, creating space. And oh yeah, so the second point would be like restructuring the relationship. And a lot of the times, especially when it comes down to family, sometimes when it's like a neighbor or like a distant relative, it's not a big deal. The space can be provided. But a different example is if it's family, sometimes we can't always just drop them and walk away. How about rearranging the structure of that relationship and say, hey, whenever I talk to you, I don't really feel heard. So instead, I would really love it if you let me speak more often. So it's important that we stand up for what we believe in and we ask for what we need. Because chances are, if you walk away from a relationship and you don't stand up, you don't create healthy boundaries, you don't ask for what it is that you want within that relationship, you're going to manifest and attract the same relationship, the same dynamics all over again in a very different person. And we've done it before again and again and again, especially in romantic relationships. So stand in your power, change the dynamics of your relationships, or simply take a healthy boundary break and separate in order to recalibrate yourself. But I'm telling you, if you do not create freedom in your environment, in your career, in your relationships for 2022, during these really intense energetic times, you will be forced to create sovereignty within those physical dynamics moving into 2023. And we all know it's not freaking fun to be forced to do anything. But sometimes the universe, your spirit guides, higher self, whatever you want to call it, come in and they pull the rug from underneath us because we're not listening. So I'm telling you, consider this, as Michelle would say. Please consider this advice. Do the work. Look at yourself. Look at your environment. Look at your relationships. Look at your dynamics physically. It's great that we're all doing shadow work. It's great that we're releasing toxins. Check out the rest of your life and make sure that it's really serving your highest possible vibration and your ultimate sovereignty and freedom, because that's a place that we all want to get to for 2023. And then the last point that I have here for 3D sovereignty before we get to the 5D sovereignty is health. I don't know about you guys, but 2022 has been a lot of interesting ups and downs with health stuff, just weird symptoms coming out of nowhere. And I have to remind myself, I'm like, okay, I'm not dying. This is just something I'm releasing or purging or getting rid of, or my body is just healing itself. I couldn't imagine if I was like, 82 and going through these symptoms. I would literally admit myself to a hospital or a Chinese, medicine practitioner and say, what's going on? I'm definitely dying here. And so it's also about trusting, right? So what's happening right now is health-wise, body-wise, physically, we have to be finding sovereignty and freedom within our physical body and system. How do we do that? It's so simple, but we never freaking do it. It's called listening to your body. Your body knows exactly what you need in order to have that freedom. So once again, another way of thinking about freedom is harmony. Are you in harmony with your body, or are you in disharmony with your body? In other words, are you working with your body, or are you working against your body? A good example of working against your body. The other day, for example, I had some sugar. I mean, it's like friggin' Halloween, right? You can't blame me. Had a bunch of sugar, felt like absolute shit. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to do that again, right? Today, I don't know what it was. Like, I never drink, okay, don't judge me, all right? But I never drink pop. I had like 3 sips of like a Mountain Dew or something. And same thing, I felt absolutely nauseous, just sick to my stomach. I'm like, here I am doing the same thing that I said I wasn't going to do. And I like, gave my wrist a little slap and said, all right, are you listening now? Right? Second time's a charm. Like, don't do this again. Like, your body doesn't like it. So it's like we have to almost go above and beyond our ego, above and beyond our mind, above and beyond what tastes good. In a sense, we have to listen to what our body wants. Like, for example, in the past 2 weeks, I've been craving grapefruit, I've been dreaming about it, waking up craving it. And I've consumed so much grapefruit in the past 2 weeks. And my body wants it. My body needs it. I don't know why. Whatever's in grapefruit, we have to listen to that and say, hey, body, I'm listening to you. And I'm going to buy some grapefruit because I know that that's what you need in this moment. I'm respecting that, right? So it's about overriding the ego and the programming and listening to those subtle cues from the body, right? Working with the body, not against it. The number one thing that I see over and over and over again from starseeds, from empaths, from old souls, from galactic volunteers is, I lost it. Oh yeah. We're out of our body. We're just out of our body. We don't want to be here. It's tough to be here. So we're floating away. And our body's like, hey, where are you? Because I need you to run properly. And this is where things like disease, autoimmune, weird random body aches and pains, digestive issues all come from not being present, right? So we have to really work with our body at this time, ground ourselves in the present moment and ask our body what it needs from us, and really listen to those very subtle cues when we consume something or do something that doesn't resonate with the body. It's about respecting your physical vessel. And I'm not talking about Reiki. I'm literally talking about food and exercise and other things like that. Okay, good. I also wanted to mention about the physical health is we're really in the middle of a detox right now. So a lot of the eclipse energy, the full moon energy, we've got the 11/11, we've got 12/21 coming up. And a lot of that is just like detoxing. So what I find personally for myself is that I'm 10 times more sensitive to my environment, to even things like different smells or pollutants or water that, isn't aligned, I guess, and food that doesn't sit right. My body's really reactive at this time, and it's because we're trying to detox. All right. So I recommend drinking an excessive amount of water and then also activated charcoal. And that's just, if that resonates with you, do your own research, feel into it. But taking some activated charcoal every couple of months for me always really helps my body detox and purge from the heavy metals and things that we just end up consuming here in the Western world, especially. Okay, good. Awesome. So focus on the physical and ask yourself if your physical reality is allowing you to align with full freedom and sovereignty. So now let's move over to your vibrational reality, the fifth dimension frequency. Of course, the one that we like to focus on the most within this community, which is great. It's only great once we have the physical on lockdown, right? Okay, so what are the contributing factors in our vibrational 5D reality that allow us to step into freedom and sovereignty, especially getting prepared and moving into 2023? The first thing that I wanted to bring up is energy drain. I don't know about you guys, but 2022, I think I've slept more in 2022 than I have probably my whole life. I've been so beyond exhausted, like, I don't know, it's just been next level. And the part about energy drain and being exhausted is really, really difficult to discern. Sometimes it is a full moon. Sometimes it is a person that you talk to, or even a person that, you were at the grocery store and you checked out, and because you conversed with them, you created cords with them, and because they're having a bad day, you took that on, and now you come home and you're drained. Maybe it's the Schumann resonance spikes or the electromagnetic frequency. Maybe it's the 5G or Wi-Fi, right? I mean, maybe it's just you live in a big, busy city and there's all the people around. There are so many factors that contribute to exhaustion. And I think one of the biggest ones that are happening right now is the veil is really, really thin. And what I mean by that is we are becoming extra sensitive beings, not just sensitive beings, but we're becoming extra sensitive beings, which means that the vibrational world around us is affecting us more than the physical. And because we're not fully used to the vibrational world around us affecting us, we don't necessarily have all of the appropriate boundaries and tools to allow the vibrational world not to affect us. So we have to be aware of our own vibrational freedom by being aware of energy drain. Like I said, when it comes down to an eclipse season, or maybe an astrology thing, or a portal activation, full moon, that can all drain our energy. Activation symptoms can be very draining, right? When we're transmuting to a higher frequency. But when it comes down to other people or the environment taking our energy or interacting with us to drain us, that's something that we can help, right? So here's what I recommend. Cutting cords. I'm sure we're all very familiar with this concept, but this is one of the healthiest things that we can do. And yes, you can have a big elaborate cord cutting ceremony. You can burn a bunch of sage or write a cord cutting letter, especially if it's a deep, deep trauma from a past lifetime or childhood. That's all great. But seriously, I cut cords pretty much every single day. If I think about someone, I will cut cords with them immediately. If I interact with someone, even just a neighbor, I will cut cords with them immediately. I cut cords with my wife all the time. And some people might find that strange, but it's really beneficial for our relationship that we are separate individuals co-creating a collective reality rather than entangled and losing ourselves within each other, if that makes sense. So what I do to cut cords is I just visualize a white light cord between me and another person, and I just cut it. I mean, it's that simple, right? Sometimes if I get off of a live video or maybe a conference and I see a lot of cords on me, then I'll just bubble myself in pure white light energy, and that will immediately cut many different cords that are connected. So there's a lot of ways to do it. You can even just say the words if you're not a great visualizer. I cut any and all cords attached that are no longer serving my highest good. And it's that simple. It's that easy. But a lot of the time, other people hooking into us with that energy is not allowing us to be fully sovereign and free. It can really drain our energy and take away from even just our mental clarity and headspace and emotional clarity and headspace. I don't know why I feel anxious. This isn't my anxiety. Oh, it's the guy at the store that I looked at, and it's his anxiety and his energy, and we don't even realize that, right? So it's really important that we are extra aware of the energies that we entangle with the world and the people around us, because we are becoming extra sensitive. Okay, so energetic freedom, so important. I also just wanted to bring up, there are cords that can be created between you and past lifetimes and ancestors as well. And the most important thing is, in order to be free energetically, we need to no longer be working from the past. We have to be fully present. And by being fully present, we're making aware decisions in the moment, without any sort of influence from pre-programming or past energies. That is full freedom. And so we need to be aware of the ancestral energy, the trauma energy, the past life energy that's affecting us. And if you're not aware of all of those nuances, that is totally okay too. You don't have to go see a past life regressionist or a psychic in order to get all of the information. You just need to, once again, set the intention that you clear any and all cords that no longer serve you. Clear any and all connections, any and all contracts that no longer serve your highest good. And you might feel some major shifts happening the second that you make that statement. Okay? Okay, good. Okay, cool. Let's move on. This is such a good point that I think we can all relate to and recalibrate within when it comes down to 5D sovereignty. Focus / distraction, right? So basically okay, this is like a whole other lecture in and of itself, but we are multidimensional, multifaceted beings, which means that we have the capacity to multitask, right? And with the capacity to multitask, our minds are in multiple places all at the same time. If we were going to get a Western diagnosis, we would all be ADHD. Woohoo! All that means is that we think and process in a very different way, especially different than what the education really teaches us and programs us to react and interact and behave and learn. Very, very different. So what happens is, if we're not working with our mind in an appropriate way, we get really distracted really freaking easily. And we are in a society at this time where, oh, you're bored? Oh, you want to be distracted? Oh, I've got a ton of things for you. Look over here, look over here, look over here, check this out. And so distraction is rampant. The number one thing that is always going to take you away from energetic freedom, energetic 5D sovereignty, is distraction. Because the second that social media captivates your attention for an hour and you're like, where the hell did that 45 minutes go? Where did 60? Well, what have I been doing? I haven't learned anything. I haven't gained access to anything new, right? What happens is we're not in conscious control of utilizing our energy in that moment. That power, that energy is being taken from us through distraction. So the way to remedy the distraction in our reality is through focus. Another way to talk about focus is through meditation, right? Meditation is the easiest way to refocus your attention and to practice the state of objective observation. Meditation, at least for me, the point is not to get to a place of nothingness. The point for me of meditation is to get to a point of observing everything simultaneously without judgment, reaction, or attachment. When I can just observe my thoughts, but not roll with them, then I know that I'm in a really good place. And that 10 minutes of meditation, 20 minutes of meditation will anchor in that objective awareness for the rest of my day. As long as I'm objectively aware of the choices and decisions I'm making and where I'm putting my energy and focus, I always maintain freedom. The second you're unaware, like for example, you're driving to and from work and you're like, oh my God, like, how did I even get here? I don't even remember the drive. That's a little bit worrisome. It means that most likely you were distracted, you were out of your body, you weren't fully present, you weren't consciously aware. Therefore, you were not in freedom. You were not in control. You allowed your autopilot programming to take the lead. Now, at first, having full focus and objective awareness over everything in your entire day can be a little bit cumbersome and a little bit overwhelming and a little bit exhausting. But eventually, when you bring that awareness into the smallest aspects of your life, it becomes quite liberating and quite easy. And then you're very aware of when your distraction, your awareness is pivoted, and then you can repivot that focus, if that makes sense. So it's really important to understand where your focus goes and where you're getting distracted. Because as we know, what we focus on is what we create. So we want to make sure that we are in energetic sovereignty with our focus, because that will anchor in the manifestations of our reality. Cool. Oh yeah, I did write down the words inability to manifest, right? The more that we're distracted energetically, the more unable we are to manifest. And that makes sense because we're just not in control of our focus, and our focus creates our reality, right? So on and so forth. Okay, cool. I guess another way to remedy distraction is to set your intentions often, especially at a time like right now when we've got the eclipse and 11/11 all happening at the same time. This is a perfect time to set your intentions and ask for what you want. And for me anyway, the best thing to always ask for is freedom. I had to ask for freedom for, I want to say 2 or 3 years to actually manifest it in every single small, tiny facet of my entire reality. And I'm talking about physical and vibrational. I feel free every single day, every single moment, every single relationship. I feel like I've fully anchored in that sovereignty. And I still have a lot of work to do, I guess, with my own mind and freedom, as I think we all do. But it does take a lot of reiteration, a lot of refocus, and a lot of resetting those intentions in order to manifest it, especially within the physical reality. Okay. And then I want to talk about, as far as 5D freedom, and this is really interesting how this came up. Sovereignty from the system. Okay. So the system, here we are in the matrix, right? We've got the 9 to 5, we've got politics, we've got religions, we've got all the mayhem and chaos and mass media and basically BS that's thrown at us every single day. So how do we find freedom within all of that? Okay. It's not about freedom from the system. I think a lot of people within the spiritual community think that freedom within the system is in fact running away from the system. Me, I do not believe that. I don't believe that. I'm maybe going to trigger a couple of you. Running away to Mexico to live out your days on the beach and go surfing every day. That's great. That's so awesome. But we can't all do that, right? So how do we find freedom while we're in the system, while we're playing the game? Of course, objective awareness and objective observation of the system is that sweet spot where you can find freedom within it, because you're not being played by it anymore. You're not being driven by the system. You are now in the driver's seat of the system. But the biggest thing that I want to bring up here when it comes down to finding freedom within the system is finding a way to transmute it. Once again, if all of the beautiful starseeds ran away to Mexico and lived their days on the beach, that's fantastic. But what are the rest of the 8 billion people in the world going to do? They're going to continue to suffer because there's going to be no one to help lead them and show them the way and be grounded enough to be like, yo, you can help too. And the way that we can help by being in the system is by saying, I want a better system. I'm in the system and I'm asking for something better. I'm not running away from it. I'm transmuting it. This is what we need to do in order to change the system, in order to find freedom within the system. We need to transmute it. We need to change it. We need to be active about it. And it's not fighting it either, because that can feed it. We need to set the highest intentions for what we want within the system. And anytime I get bogged down by the mayhem and the projection and the agendas and the conspiracies that are happening in the world right now, especially right now, there are days where I get pissed off. Absolutely. I'm like, Galactic Federation, why are you letting this happen? Like, come on, you guys. Are you not seeing this? Like, humans need some help here, right? Like, I call it a human tantrum. About every 3 or 4 months, I will get a complete human tantrum, get super emotional about it. Now, when I get my human tantrum, I will sit down and I will think to myself, yes, all of this stuff is happening. Yes, it feels totally out of my control. Yes, it feels very overwhelming and it feels like I have no power within it. But I do have a power. And I'm here individually helping to collectively transmute and change the system. We can do this. One person can make a difference. So then I ask myself, especially in those moments of reaction and emotion, what do I want for the collective? I want unity. I want empowerment. I want equality. Even though I have access to fresh food and water and shelter, I want every other person across the entire planet to have access to fresh water, to shelter, to education, to the internet. I want that for everyone. We need to get outside of what we may be suffering with here in the Western world and understand that what we take for granted every single day is a struggle for like 30 to 40% of the rest of the world. We need to be actively setting intentions for the collective. Do not run away from the system. Do not fight this system, because by fighting it, you lower your vibration and you feed it. We need to be setting the highest possible intention for the collective. And I like doing this anytime I get reactionary around the collective. It's always a great message for me of like, hey, whoa, stop, slow down, check yourself. How can you change this around so that you're actually helping? Okay, great. So the last point that I have here about shifting our vibration into freedom when it comes down to 5D, the fifth dimension frequency, is something that came to me the last half of 2021. And that was this right here, okay, is the theme for 2022. And the words that came to me were vibrational navigation. And I was like, oh my God, like it almost came to me every single week for 6 months at the end of 2021. 2022 is about vibrational navigation. I'll explain what that means. Vibrational navigation is our key to absolute physical and energetic sovereignty for 2023. If you do not have vibrational navigation and you do not empower yourself to vibrationally navigate in your life right now, then you will not be able to anchor in sovereignty for 2023. So what is vibrational navigation? I guess to put it plainly, it's the ability to connect and subsequently disconnect from energies and the world around you. So for example, if you're on the phone and you're talking to a relative and all they have to say is all of this negative stuff and it's really bringing you down and you start to feel really, really anxious, do you have the power within you to A, be aware of the anxiety that you feel that is not your own, and then B, separate yourself from that anxiety in the present moment while you're face to face with it by cutting those cords and creating healthy boundaries? It's not about physical boundaries of, and it could be, but vibrational navigation. You're still on the phone, you're still talking to this person, they're still very negative, but you cut the cords and you're like, yes, okay, cool. That is your own stuff and that sucks for you, but like, that's not mine and I'm not going to take that on. Vibrational navigation. Are you able to energetically, emotionally connect to that blankie that you had as a kid? But simultaneously, are you energetically, emotionally able to disconnect from that blankie as a kid and say, that's just a material object that means absolutely nothing to me and I can get rid of it tomorrow if I wanted to? We need to have the ability to connect and disconnect from the physical world and the vibrational world. The second you have full ability to do that, you have full sovereignty, full stop. And with that sovereignty, you have full focus. And with that focus, you can therefore create whatever reality you want to create because you're not attached, you're not reactionary, you have no expectations, and you hold no judgments around anything. That is freedom. That is empowerment. That is sovereignty. That is everything. And that is what we need as starseeds. We need freedom. We need the ability to be in the present moment long enough to choose what reality we want to be in. Because that's not up to the government. That's not up to your parents. That's not up to your ancestors. Definitely not up to your spirit guides. It's up to you to utilize your free will to make that choice. But that means you got to be aware. You got to be objective. You got to be observant. You got to be focused. And you have to set those intentions. So what I want to end with is that you already know all of this. I'm just reminding you of what your soul already has. Even if you didn't write any notes, that's okay. This is the time to make these choices. This is the time to observe your life and to ask yourself if you feel free within every single facet of your reality. And if not, it is time to make a conscious choice to change and to be willing to move with the vibration that aligns to your highest intention. Trust yourself, listen to the signs, and I want to remind you that you, my beautiful friend, are exactly where you need to be at this time. Thank you so, so much for having me on and being here and holding space.
Wow. Elizabeth, that was very profound. I just have to honor you for teaching us how to navigate the third and the fifth in our personal power and sovereignty, because now this is the time we need that. Just really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joan.
Yeah, no, really important.
Ia always brings it, And I love that she said she tuned in about an hour before, because she's so in the present. And you were blowing me away with I took pages of notes.
Right.
And a lot of what you were speaking about was all talked about on my hike today. Wow. We almost every single one of your points we were discussing about, becoming an objective, getting into objective observation in the system and finding a way to transmute it, saying we want a better system. We kind of got into a little debate about politics. Like we're noticing the system. We also talked about, where is a way when a lot of people are like, well, I was thinking about going, or I want to go. I feel, and a lot of people don't feel safe in certain areas, but as you know, I, for the past almost 3 years have been encouraging those around me to come to my house to celebrate life, just to celebrate living in this moment. And tomorrow's never promised. So why don't we just be in the now with it? So I love that you were talking about freedom and sovereignty, and you started off with about the symptoms of being exhausted. And as I was sitting here listening to you, I was feeling my exhaustion from going, listening to the speakers, being multidimensional and multitasking during the whole conference, which I think all of us have been. But when you talk about harmony in our environment, this is such a big thing. How do we cultivate harmony all around us? And I think it's really up to us to do it. Instead of pointing the finger and blaming the other and othering, you went into talking about that in relationships. And I just so resonate with that. Giving the example about cutting the cords, I think was one of my big takeaways, a really big takeaway. Thank you for giving us permission to cut cords to our spouses and to our neighbors and to our family members and to everybody here on the conference, where we're all kind of not intentionally courting each other in a negative way, but we do feel other people's energies, and it's enough to navigate our own energies, right? So carrying other people's stuff during this eclipse cycle can be very exhausting. You were so on point. Thank you. And Joan, I'm so glad you jumped in to share that, because
I think it's really helpful for those of us who have family and friends that are maybe at a different vibration than us, You know, like I know I'm off to my sister's next week, and Elizabeth, I just have to tell you, you gave me the best tools possible, because, you know, there's no way we can change our families. They are who they are, but we can change ourselves. And I thought of all the tools you gave, that was the most practical, because I know everyone I know has that like, we're very spiritual here, we're awake. Uh-oh, we go to our parents' home, forget it all, right?
Yeah.
Or my kids' home, it just happens. So
Yeah.
That was powerful.
Separate to recalibrate. Wasn't that a good one? I mean, I think I
Yeah,
want
I
to
thought
make
that
a
was
little
good.
card and put it up on my mirror in my bathroom. Separate to recalibrate. and that's, I did that today by taking a hike, you know, feeling the energies and feeling, you know, I don't want to step outside of that harmonic feeling that I'm carrying over from the party we had here last night. It was awesome. And Joan, I totally get what you're saying, that we, when we experience the different dynamics with different family members and the different frequencies, it's like being on a radio dial, you know, and I've used that analogy a lot in my own relationship. I'm not saying I'm above you, or there's no hierarchy around it. It's like a straight across radio dial. You may be at 87.5 and I may be at 102.7 and vice versa, and however it works, just different frequencies.
Right.
But being able to keep our harmony and keep our joy and just keep transmitting that. And
Perfect.
great tools.
How to live as a fifth dimension, as a high celestial being in these human bodies during these most critical of times, when we are required, like we came down here with that agreement that we would actually say yes, that we wouldn't, like, you know, hide behind our shadow. We said yes, and now we have to learn the tools to really be that spiritual being, that powerhouse. I think this is huge. People are all talking about sovereignty, personal power. Why? Because they're shaking up the outside world, and we have to know who we are for that. That's kind of, and I think you anchored it in, Elizabeth, with great tools. Tangela, it's your turn. Go.
And I just want to jump in and say, Elizabeth, I loved your presentation so much. And I think what you were saying about resistance and letting go of the resistance was just so phenomenal, because what you said is when we hold on to that resistance, that actually lowers our vibration. And then we can't be, we're no longer able to be in service to the collective as we are truly able to in our fullest potential. And we forget that because, you know, we get into our human and our frustration and get into the resistance. But I just think that is such a brilliant reminder when we begin to feel that restriction and that resistance, to really let it go. So, I mean, thank you for so much beautiful practice throughout the whole presentation, but I loved it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Tangela.
Thank you, Elizabeth.